I'm Corrine Peterson. I'm the Volunteer Services Manager for Cross Keys Village, the Brethren Home community. Welcome to Brethren Voices. Glad to be a part of this today. We work avidly with the auxiliary, the Brethren Home Community Auxiliary, and they do a number of fundraising events that are supportive of our charity care, known as the Good Samaritan Fund. They sponsor and give money towards B-HEAP Scholarship, which educates the staff. They do a professional artist series, and so that there are professional artists coming to this campus about 8 times out of the year. Now, this Apple Butter Festival started about 5 years ago. The Replogle family had been on the campus many years prior to when I came, and that was in 1999. And they were boiling just to demonstrate to our healthcare residents that were here. And we started about 5 years ago and said, how about if we try to make this an event? We knew we couldn't support as big as we do for the barbecue that we do in August, but we wanted to see what we could do for fall. So this started about 5 years ago. It has just kept growing of what it's been. Now this year we had a damper because of the rain. We ended up with 8 inches of rain in one day. That family stood out there from 4 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock last night preparing 434 pints of apple butter to sell. And we add baked goods, homemade baked goods. They have apple dumplings. We serve a food line. We bring in vendors so that there's something for them to see and buy if they so choose. So this event just continues to grow. This year we added an open swim over at the Harvey S. Klein Wellness Center for staff and anyone from 10 to noon, and that was free. And then they had a family scavenger hunt. The model trains are on display over at the Harmony Ridge Apartments, and they also started a HERES ham radio emergency service, and they have an office over in Harmony Ridge, and so that was open. We just had to shortcut all the outdoor events, which usually include a car show, another boiling of apple butter. We had extreme tractor pulls, and vendors are usually outside as well, and we had to move them all indoors because of the rain. So this is a little different, but we always make it that the event's going to happen regardless what the weather's going to do.
We've been friends of the Brethren Home now for many, many years, and this is our 31st annual apple butter boil here at the Brethren Home. And in the last number of years, it has really grown into a much larger event with the Fall Festival and a lot of other activities tagged along our apple butter boil. What started out with my mother, I'm not quite sure how it came about, but it was her idea to produce a kettle of apple butter to allow the residents to come out, visit with each other, reminisce about their childhood and their days making apple butter themselves on the farm or whatever. And this project has grown, and this is I'm the second generation. My daughter is very much involved, and we're just having a great time doing this once a year. The recipe that we use is it was a family heirloom. It came with the original kettle that we have, which I understand was a wedding gift to my grandparents whenever they were married. Have no idea how old the kettle was before that, but it was used. And what we do, you start with the kettle clear full of apple cider, and the sweeter the better, and then you boil that halfway. So you reduce the cider to halfway on the kettle, and that's the signal to start adding apples. Now, our original kettle was an 18-gallon, and that takes 2.5 bushels of apples, peeled, cored and sliced fine. And we always use a cooking apple so that they cook up. The original recipe called for winter banana, which is a very hard apple to get anymore, but Golden Delicious is a real good sweet cooking apple. And so whenever you get the cider down halfway, then you start adding the apples, and that's when you start to stir. Before that, you don't have to do anything but just watch it boil. And then once you start adding apples, then you have to continually stir till it's finished. On a good day, it usually takes around 8 hours from start to finish. There's an official test to test that, and that's to put a blob on a plate, and you strike a line through it, and you look for weep, liquid weeping into that line you've drawn. If you don't get any weep, and then you're able to turn the plate upside down and it not drip off, that's whenever you have the right consistency. Now it's time to add sugar, and that is to taste. So it depends on how sweet your cider is, how sweet your apples are, how much sugar you have to add, and that's to taste. Some like it, really sweet, and some not. So generally, after you put your sugar in, then it's usually an hour after that. You've got to boil that liquid that you've just created. You've got to boil that off. And whenever you get it back to the right consistency, then you add the oils. And we add sassafras, cinnamon, and clove. And we use it's a little spice oil, and we add the drops of that, get a good mix on it, and then it's ready to jar. It was always done before with a funnel and a scoop, and always had a lot of trouble judging how much to pour in the funnel and not overfill the jar. And I had been thinking about this for a number of years, and last year I finally got a plan in my head as to what I wanted. I talked to a sheet metal man, and we have manufactured a jarring system that really works great. And it has a large volume on top that I can keep scooping into, and it has a slide valve at the bottom, and somebody can bring the jars in, you pull the slide open, and it's very precise. Slide the jar aside, somebody's putting caps on, and it just speeded that process up wonderfully. And that's been a great addition to our manufacturing process.
Every year we try to mix it up a little bit as to our entertainment. Last year we had the Apple Corps Band, and we have Slim Harrison and Candy Cloggers that come every year. This year we introduced Beth Rebert. She is a local girl, lives in Hanover, PA, and she is a storyteller. She captivates the audience, and she came in this year and was part of the morning entertainment. So we try to have entertainment in the morning and then another entertainment in the afternoon.
Gloves go. She saw one tall black go nod.
The story that I chose to share today is called The Little Old Lady Who Was Not Afraid of Anything. And the story was written by Linda Williams and illustrated by Megan Lloyd. In this story, the little old lady ventures out of her home into the forest to collect nuts and herbs and spices and seeds. While she was in the forest, she came upon several different items of clothing, and the items of clothing went clomp, clomp, shake, shake, wiggle, wiggle, clap, clap, nod, nod, and a very scary pumpkin head that went boo, boo. But of course, the little old lady was not afraid of anything, so she ended up going back into her home. And then a sudden knock, knock came on the door, and I believe that the little old lady was then very frightened. But she opened the door, and then she told the items of clothing what to do. And the story concludes by them making a scarecrow to scare all the crows away.
And she saw one scary pumpkin head go, oh, you can do better than that. Boo, boo.
And what did she go? Look at how clever. Yeah. She's good. She is very good, yeah. Did you know?
And they scared all the crows away. The end.
This story is a wonderful story at this time of the year of autumn. It's also a wonderful story to engage younger listeners, even up to older listeners. It has a lot of props that help to make the story come to life, and I really appreciated all the help from the friends in the audience who took the pair of pants and made them wiggle, wiggle, and the shirt made them shake, shake. That I like the banter back and forth when I can feel that the audience is participating. And that's the whole purpose of reading, is to engage your readers and wanting them to predict and listen and wonder what is coming next as far as predicting. Also, that's the skill of just thinking in your head and wondering what's to come.
Slim Harrison came to us via Tom Jolin, who is a local artist. They do folk music, and Slim has been coming to us for these last 5 years. He had a couple friends, Rockney Howland and Candy Hanlett, I believe is her last name, that do the clogging. And so they have come every year for the last 5 years. They stroll. They will sometimes be out and about. If the weather's good, they would have been outside. This year we had them in the night carry because of the weather, and they have spent the morning performing and now this afternoon. I can't even remember where Slim calls home. He drives a couple hours to get here, so he's not a local boy. But they're a wonderful group that comes and makes this event wonderful.
Oh, and what I say, ain't laid Texas wet asphalt. Ain't laid Texas wet asphalt. It keeps up your starboard fall. Oh, and what I say, ain't laid Texas wet asphalt. Texas wet asphalt. It keeps up your starboard fall. Oh, and what's gonna cut? Oh, and rock will play. First time tackle, tackle, rock. First time tackle, tackle, rock.
My name is Bonnie Berger, and I'm a member of the train club. It got started a little over 3 years ago by a man called Don Danner. And they started with the O gauge, which my husband works on, Wayne Berger. And then they gave us half a room for the O gauge. And the ladies on the committee came down and looked it over and decided we should have the whole room. So then we added the HO. Paul Wilson, who's a member here, he created the whole HO layout himself. And Charlie Snyder brought the N gauge down. And we have 26 members. So we have a big O gauge layout, the HO and the N gauge. And it's open for the community. Anybody that lives here, if they want to see the trains, they just pick somebody's name from the list and give us a call, and we'll come down. If they have family members, grandchildren, we'll open the room and run the trains for them. At Thanksgiving, the weekend after Thanksgiving, we're open through till the first of the year, and that's visitors can come from anywhere. Hanover, we have them from all over.
And this is the old gauge at the Brethren Home. It's a joint effort. You see all the Marytown buildings and all. We divided those up and different people painted them and put the curtains in and all. The scenery, the man told us he knew nothing about scenery, but he got on a computer and taught all of us. And it's the ladies paint the walls and the clouds and do scenery and run the trains for us, and we do the same. But it's all a joint effort, and we have a good time. We get a lot of children in here, and that's what it's all about. We do a lot of babysitting. They give us a call and say, the grandchildren are here today, I'm going crazy. Could you come over and run the trains for them? The O gauge to me, of course, I grew up with it. I had one when I was 4 years old, so I've been doing it for about 72 years and still know very little about it, but it's big enough I can handle it. And it's big enough that the people can see it. That's what we like. The wheelchairs and all can see it. And I have trouble with the smaller stuff. I tried HO, but the O gauge is big enough that most of us can work on it. We just started from scratch with a lot of donated stuff, and then we were given a grant that helped with the expenses. O gauge has been made since way back in the 1900s, and they're still making it, of course. Lionel is a big old manufacturer, and Mike's Train House now produces a lot of the old tin plate that you saw in 1918. It looks just the same as it did then, except it is brand new and has sound and all.
We have about five people involved in the N scale, and we run them when people call. Families come in here and they like to see the trains run, and we do that almost at a moment's notice. Run them for an hour or so for a party or an anniversary. They call us, and we come down and run the trains for them. We've had over 1,000 people come in here during the Christmas holidays. Like today, I'm guessing probably 200 or 300 people came down here today just to look at the trains. Very popular. A lot of people had trained growing up for 20, 30 years. Okay, the N scale is a different size train. It's one of the smallest ones. It's probably the most accurate, authenticated detail of trains. The engines, the cars are designed and made by tool and die makers, and the detail is extremely accurate. They go down to thousandths of an inch in accuracy, and it's only came into existence maybe 20 years ago, and it has really become very popular. One advantage of the N scale over the other scales is it's a 1/180th ratio to a full-size train. And what you can do with the N scale is you can compact it on a layout and put a lot of engines and trains and scenery in a very small area compared to an O scale or an HO scale.
In these past years, we contact varying congregations of the Southern District Church of the Brethren, and ask them to support and send 4 to 6 individuals to come help peel the apples. Normally we do about 18 bushels. This year we were given 30 bushel. It was a bumper crop. And so we had Gettysburg Church of the Brethren, Carlisle Church of the Brethren, and then all the people that live here that wanted to come in and lend a hand, from staff to the villagers. And so we spent all day on Thursday peeling, some with a drill that's attached to a pillar, other ones that like the hand crank pillars, and then the old timers of us that just like to sit with a paring knife and one by one get the skins off and prepare them so that they could boil. Then on Friday, prior to this event, the Replogle family that started with Bill years ago that boiled, bring in their family, Brenda, Brad, Megan, and all of them that come and lend a hand to do the boiling. And as I said, this year was a real challenge. Usually it's hard enough when you've got good weather, but when you have downpouring rain, it's a different story. And that's what they had to deal with this year, was the downpouring rain. But they were out there from 4 o'clock till 8 o'clock last night preparing those 434 pints to sell today. So, and that's a record number. They only have 3 pots. We started with 1 pot, we went to 2 pots, and now we're up to 3, and that's as high as we can get with them. Normally they would come back today and do a demonstration, and then they leave that boil for the healthcare residents in this facility. Okay, as a volunteer manager, none of the programs that we do could ever be done without the helping hands, those that give sacrificially of their time for the benefit of another, and this program is very evident of that. This is Corrine Peterson wishing you peace.